Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Buzz with Busy Crochet. We're so glad that you're here today. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking with Fiona Langtry from Australia. She is an amazing boho chic uh, designer. And so, if you are on YouTube joining us, make sure that you click the like, that you subscribe so that you know every time that I go live with a new designer. And all of Fiona's information is going to be in the description box below. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring Fiona in so that we can interview her today. Hi, Fiona.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me on the
Thank you
Buzz
for
with Busy
having me.
Crochet.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth.
Absolutely. You can call me Biz. That's what everybody calls me. I'm going to turn that up just a little. Yeah, my brother named me Biz when I was born, and I'm 51, and I've had it my whole life, so everybody calls me Biz.
It's good to be in your 50s.
It is. It is. It's a new age. I get to call myself a woman of a certain age now.
Yes, it's really nice. And there's a whole thing for women over 50 online. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, and I remember when I was, let's see, probably 10 years ago, it was the purple and red hat society. The older ladies were wearing that kind of stuff. I never wanted to wear those, but yeah, that was a big thing for a while there. Okay, so Fiona, let's talk about you. Tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, your family, anything that you would like to share with us.
Okay, so as you've gathered, I'm in my 50s. I'm a mum of two, both are adults. My 19-year-old daughter lives home permanently, and my 22-and-a-half-year-old son lives home half the time.
So they're kind of in and out, which is good.
Yeah. We live in a small town called Yass.
Really?
Yeah.
Like as in the word yes, Y-E-S?
Y-A-S-S, which I know a lot of Americans use it as an expression, I hear.
Yeah.
But it's a little town about an hour north of Canberra, Australia's capital.
Okay.
And we've got about, I forgot to look at the sign. It's about 5,000, 6,000 people in our town.
That's a nice small town.
Yeah. And it's a really nice community.
That's good.
We used to live in Canberra.
Okay.
But I was born in Bendigo, which is in Victoria, which is southeast of Australia, a gold mining town.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So I was surrounded by, I mean, Bendigo's not small. It was probably 150,000 people when I was growing up. So it's not a small town, but it wasn't like the big city either.
Yeah.
And it was really, really good place to grow up. So when my husband and I got married in 1988, we both had jobs, and I finished my degree, and there was no jobs for me to work in Bendigo. So we started looking for places to move to, and we looked at Canberra, and we drove around and said, this feels like a big Bendigo. So we moved to Canberra, and we spent 15 years there, and then we moved here in 2005. So
that's cool.
It's the longest place we've ever lived, but it's a great place.
Yeah, we moved to Florida. So if you look at the United States, where we lived was Wisconsin, which is way, way, way up at the top. And we moved down to Florida, which is way, way, way at the bottom at the Gulf of Mexico. And so we went from super, super cold to super, super hot. And we went from really teeny tiny town to a really big area. I mean, we're probably 500,000 now at this point.
Yeah.
And so I understand that difference of living in a really big area and a really little area. And those really small towns can be really nice to live in.
Yes. You can walk down. I mean, I go to the local supermarket and bump into friends, people from church, all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
You get to know everybody.
Well, you can't know 5,000, 6,000 people. And there are lots of people I realise I don't know, but yeah, it's a good place to live.
A tighter community, I guess, is what I should have said.
Yeah, definitely. And the community feel is very good.
That's good.
So, as I've
We
just
got a
kind
hello
of...
from Central Pennsylvania. She's up by New York area on
Hi,
the
Debbie.
northeast side. So hi, Debbie. Thanks for chatting.
So my husband and I have been married nearly 35 years.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah. And involved in a local church. I lead worship on most Sundays.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm a singer, fairly devout Christian. As I said, we've got 2 kids. We live in our own house on half an acre in town.
No, that's nice size though, because I think my parents have roughly that size, and it's a really nice lot for that size. That's cool. All right.
And
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so like, how many years have you been crocheting and all of your moving around?
Crochet, I didn't start till I was over 40.
Okay, so were you a knitter before?
Yes, and a cross stitcher.
Oh, cool.
I grew up. Both my grandmothers, Ruth and Eve, which is where my business name comes from. They both tried to teach me crochet.
Okay.
But succeeded in teaching me knitting.
They were just happy to get some wool in your hands.
Yeah, and I mean, when my husband and I started going out, he was just about to turn 21. So I went to the local the best wool place in Bendigo, which is somewhere I still buy wool from, and I now sell my patterns at. That's the Bendigo Woolen Mills. And
I did see them on your website.
Yeah, so they're a wonderful local company that have been running for, I don't even know how long, possibly over 100 years.
Wow.
They just produce beautiful, consistent yarn, and they do big balls, so 200-gram balls.
Okay. Wow.
Are wonderful for a scarf or a multi piece project. So you can actually not have to worry about color matching or dye lots or whatever. So that's really useful. So I went to Bendigo Woolen Mills when I was going out with Trevor and made him a jumper. I sat all summer knitting.
Oh my gosh.
A jumper for him on my bed. Every time I wasn't with him, I was knitting. Sneakily making him a birthday present. And it was an experience.
So do you love it though?
I never thought of myself as a crafter. I just did craft, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's people I've had experience with over the years who just pick up their hand and do whatever craft they feel like, and they're obsessed with all crafts. And I'm like, I tend to be a single-minded crafter. So I'm either I knitted for years and years and years, and then when my son was a baby, so probably 22 years ago, I went to, there was a one of those multi-part magazines that come out every week. There was one on cross stitch, and I went, I'd like to learn cross stitch. So I went and bought it, and I think I only bought the first one and made the thing and got hooked on cross stitch for about maybe 5 or 6 years, maybe longer.
I used to do cross stitch in my youth too.
Yeah, and I made, for my mum's 70th birthday, I did her a set of 2 Australian wildflower
neat
cross stitch things. I don't even know what to call them, pictures, I guess you'd call them.
Yeah.
And she entered one of them in the Bendigo show, which is like a big state fair. No, not state fair, but, you know, a big regional fair.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And that project won grand champion of the needlecraft section.
Oh, that's cool.
But I'd already started crocheting by then. So
no going back.
Cross stitch went sideways and crochet took over. So I'm a member. For many years I've been a member of, helped lead, and now I just kind of pop in because of work and the like. A craft group that our church runs.
Okay.
And one of the ladies, her daughter was giving away a whole pile of brooches with, you know, crocheted flowers on them for an event. And she asked for help to make these things. Okay. And I'm like, I'll do it, but I don't know how. And so she showed me how to make these flowers, and I went home and made like 10 and went, this is so fast.
Yes, and fun.
And as a knitter, I was never very fast. I'm
such a slow knitter.
I was a consistent knitter. I could do more technical lace work, but I couldn't speed myself up. I've discovered that maybe continental knitting might have been a really big thing for me. But
that's how I knit. I started knitting after crochet.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it. So the whole idea of being so slow and you know, taking days to make a scarf just drove me crazy. Yeah. And all of a sudden I was making a scarf in a couple of hours, and it's like, wow.
This rocks.
Yeah. So I started by, I don't know, one of my sisters gave me a crochet Afghan book from Morocco for Christmas that year. And out of that, I made my other sister, who was having a baby, it's a waves, multicolored waves blanket, like a little baby blanket. And I put a photo on my Facebook page, and a local lady who I was friends with asked me to make her one.
Oh, how nice.
And then she asked me to make booties, and then she spotted the crocodile booties from Lianka, from Benita Patterns.
Okay. And
I bought the pattern. I've spent hours looking for wool to make these rainbow slippers because I couldn't find it locally. Yeah. And I never looked back. I mean, I went from being a beginner crocheter one year to doing crocodile stitch and making booties in crocodile stitch the following year, and it just spiraled from there.
That sounds fun. We do have a couple people that I'm just going to pop in here that are saying hi to you. So there's Louise from Rhode Island, and Pamela has specifically said hi, Fiona.
One of my longtime customers, friends.
Yes,
Pamela's.
They become friends, don't they?
Big friend.
Yes, you create that relationship. All right. So did you used to design knit as well as crochet, or are you strictly a crochet designer?
I'm strictly a crochet designer. I never designed knitting.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured with the slowness, it probably would have driven you up the wall.
Yes, I'd never even considered designing, actually.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Like, what made you consider crochet designing? What drove you to that?
I didn't consider it; it just happened.
Yeah.
Like a lot of things in my life, things just happen. I was learning how to make hats.
Okay.
I was following, I don't know, I might have been Creation Crochet or someone like that, who had a basic how to make a hat to a
Sure.
certain width and then do a certain depth and all of that. And I mucked it up. Simple as that. I mucked it up. And
Yeah.
I ended up making this huge thing. And I'm like, I can't be bothered undoing it all. So I worked out how to shrink it and do the band as a tighter thing. And I went, this is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
And it fits me. And so that became the Easy Fit beanie.
Oh, have fun.
Which was my first official design. And it's designed to be a slouchy hat, which fits everybody. And
yes.
I mean, I wear one almost. I mean, I'm still wearing one of the original ones I made.
They just last forever. That's one thing I love about yarn goods.
Yep. So I made that with some Bendigo Wool and Mills of yarn.
Oh, cool.
Pure wool, and it was.
So is their wool soft, or do you find it to be itchy at all?
They've got different levels.
Okay.
They've got even their basic classic wool is pretty soft, but they've got a luxury, and they do some blends. Okay. I don't know whether I've got anything. Oh, yes, I do. This is sadly discontinued, a bamboo wool blend.
Oh, that's got pretty stitch definition.
Yeah, beautiful. It just feels so
squishy.
It's squishy, but it's not soft.
Okay.
Not super soft. It's just like it's not rough on the face or whatever, but it's there.
Yeah, it's got some hardiness to it.
Yeah, definite hardiness to it, and their yarns are just gorgeous, and I love working with them. I also made they had a pure alpaca at one point, which I.
Oh, that's beautiful too. Now, are these patterns of yours?
Oh yeah, this is the trellis beanie.
Okay.
Which they actually featured on their Facebook page at one point. And these are trellis mitts. The first pair I made.
Stitch definition in those.
Yeah. This pattern was actually featured in a magazine in Australia last year.
Oh, how fun. That's good.
The mitt. So.
Okay, so from where you started with the hat until now, I mean, like I look on your website and you've got a whole like array of patterns, and I think you're wearing one of them, right?
Yeah, sorry. I've been fiddling with it.
Oh gosh, yeah, no, don't apologize. But like I see a real difference between where you would start with a hat and where you would come now. Like, well, how do you feel that you've kind of your aesthetic has maybe evolved, and where do you feel like you're going with your patterns?
Well, that's a very good question. I don't know. I'm very much into texture at the moment. In the last year, I've released the trellis. This design was in Crochet World beginning of last year. It's called. No, it's not this one. This was in the same magazine as the mitts. Okay. This is called Dewdrops and Sunbeams.
Okay. I love texture. I'm a fan of texture.
And I've recently released a shawl, mitts, and gloves. Sorry, shawl, beanie, and cowl called Wrapped in Hearts.
Okay.
And I've literally last week launched a new set called the Dreamy Tracks.
Yes, I was just going to ask you about that because that one is beautiful. I love the color of that one. Oh, that's very pretty.
This is the the other version I was making as I was rewriting my pattern. So
it's
with
very
the short
pretty.
tail, with a beanie,
Yes.
and the mitts somewhere.
And I love the button accents.
I don't use buttons all the time, particularly with gloves, because you've got to do them reverse.
Yes, yes. So are yours decoration or are they actual closures?
No, they're closures.
Oh, okay.
Work.
So that does make it a lot harder.
Functional buttons.
Well, that's good.
So the beanie and the cowl are beginner's patterns, which I don't do very often, but because of the reverse and the construction of the mitts, I've actually had to make them intermediate.
Okay, sure. But that gives people the chance to grow with you as well.
Exactly. And a lot of people do. I encourage people to do the cheat stitches.
Yeah.
If you like to call them that. I love foundation stitches.
Okay.
You'll find if I'm starting a pattern that requires a long row, it's always foundation, because I hate working into a chain. It's just a pet hate of mine.
Yeah.
And I much prefer.
And I struggle with the foundation stitch, so I usually avoid that one.
Well, it took me a while to get it right, and I've actually just worked out a trick that has made it sit much better, which is if you use, here you go, tip from Fiona.
There you go.
If you're doing foundation stitch, use a hook size one smaller than what you're going to do the rest of the project in.
Oh, okay.
It sits so much neater. I did it with this one. Just trying to, I don't know whether you can see that. There we go.
Okay, yeah.
I did that with this one, and instead, because one of the things I've always hated with, I'm just trying to find one that I've done.
Do you find like it's just less bulky that way?
What happened all the time was that the foundation stitch always used to be really kind of open and loopy, and by using the hook size one smaller, it actually kind of brings it in a bit more.
Okay.
And I always used to have trouble blocking it to the right shape.
Oh, okay.
Because it was just longer than the rest of the. Actually, this one's probably got it. No, it's not showing up. But yeah, it was something that frustrated me, and then I did it accidentally and went, hey, that's great.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention, or desperation is the mother of invention, however you want to look at it. But that's how a lot of us come up with the tips and tricks, is because something that frustrates us inside of what we're doing, what we're working on or designing, it just creates this need to come up with a solution.
Totally. Yeah. So the other things I love using are chainless starting stitches. And I used to use just the normal one, and then Moogly brought out an improved one. I don't know whether you've seen it, but basically instead of working just above the stitch, you work into the current stitch. And complete your stitch normally. And to me, that just helps with placement, with the look of the whole thing. And I mean, it's not quite, I mean, you can see this one, but from an aesthetic point of view, you can often completely have invisible stitches.
Sure.
And I love that.
Well, those are really great tips that, because I don't use them so much. However, I have used them in when it's called for inside the pattern. I will do
Yep.
what the designer tells me to do.
Mm.
And I do like the way that it looks. It's just it never occurs to me to use it in my own designs. I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because I'm old school and I just go and do
Yeah.
it. But I do like the way that it looks. I think that it
Yeah.
helps definitely.
In fact, as someone joins my VIP
Mhm.
newsletter, I think it's the second or third email, I actually send them links to learn those 2 stitches,
Oh, that's
foundation
awesome.
and the improved chainless starting, because I find that they're just so useful to improve your
Yeah.
speed, look, the whole works of your crochet. And
Well, and the more
um,
you know, the more you can,
yeah,
contour it to how you do, what
yeah.
works best for you.
And I
Well,
figure if they're going to be buying my patterns, they may as well know what I put in them, because they're
yeah,
going to
oh
be
yeah, absolutely.
told to use them.
Let's talk about your business real quick because I did go over. I said it before, but I went over your website, and there's actually a
Yep.
lot of stuff. I love your website. It's very,
Oh,
very
thank you.
clean, very easy to find everything. I did want to talk to you about. You say you've got a discount program, or like,
Yep.
so can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so my when someone signs up to become a VIP,
Hmm.
or what I call a reaver,
Yeah.
um, they get a free pattern, which there's photos on my website about. It's the textured neck wrap. It's a button
Mhm.
up, two tone or two yarn. So I actually used a chunky and a worsted weight yarn to make the one
Okay.
that's on the. So
Yeah, because
yeah,
there's
that's another.
pictures all over your website about that one as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. That's my friend Pam, the lady that said hello earlier.
Oh, okay. Hi, Pam.
Sorry, Pam. So I made it for her as a gift, and she thankfully took photos of it. And
Mhm.
so that is a gift when you sign up to my VIP program.
Okay.
And as part of that, you get a 20% discount coupon that you can use on most websites, not all,
Uh-huh.
because not all allow them,
Yeah.
um, and for life.
Yeah. That's great.
So it never stops.
And
And
then I'm sorry, go ahead.
then when I send my newsletters out, I often offer extra discount coupons, and sometimes they're stackable. Any on my website, we can stack
Sure.
coupons,
Sure.
but places like Ravelry, you can't
Yeah. They
put
won't
more than
let
one,
you.
and Etsy. So.
The other thing that I really liked is that your pattern search in your website gives you so many options. It's almost like going to Ravelry, where you can search by color, by hook, by weight of yarn, and all of that. So, I tell us a little bit about like what made you want to do that on your website.
I started one of the first big websites I found to buy wool
Hmm.
or yarn was Love Knitting, as they used to be called.
Yeah.
Then they became Love Crochet. Now they're called Love Crafts.
Yes, I love
But
them.
they have so many ways to search for yarn, and
They
I
do.
went, well, I really love that. So when I was setting up my website, I went, I'm going to do those search options.
That's
What size hook
fantastic.
have I got in my hand? I'll find a pattern to use with the hook that I've got, or the yarn that I've
Yeah.
got, or um, what do I want to make?
Mhm.
I'm trying to think what else I've got.
Well, the other thing that I noticed is that you do have links to all of the different yarns that you love so much. And the other thing
Mm,
that you did on there is you have all of like your relevant patterns that use those yarns,
yep,
or the pattern would work in
would
that
work.
yarn. I think that's a
Mm,
really great idea too. So you've got some
yeah,
really great resources on your website that help people
thank you.
connect with all of your different patterns. I think it's a great
Yeah.
way to set that up.
Well, I maintain my own website almost from scratch. I ran it.
It's
I
a lot of
did
work.
a course many years ago. It was one of the biggest first investments I made. It was called Ultimate Architect. It doesn't.
Wow.
I don't think it exists anymore as a course, but it was a step-by-step. Do this, buy this, click here. All this kind of like so easy to follow, and you went from knowing nothing to having a launched website.
That's awesome.
And I maintain it. And there is a single gentleman who helps us, those of us who've got these websites, if we've got a problem. And there's only needs one person because they're all so well set up. And like I had a problem last week. I shut him, and it was fixed in under a day.
That's excellent. Yeah, because I had happened to be looking for your website because I wanted to find out more about you, and I'm like, I cannot get on this website. I wonder if she knows. So I'm like, hi. So I'm glad I brought it up to you because it seemed like it was more than just me, and I'm so glad that it got fixed because I went on there again today to make sure that I had all of my information about you, etc. And I just really love the website. It's a really great website.
I appreciate that.
And it's very
really
easy to sign up for your newsletter. And I'm sorry, you probably already said this, but how often do you send out your newsletter?
Okay, so to start with, as people are getting to know me, I send it out like every 5 days, or there's a schedule, and then towards I go through who I am, my favorite stitches, that kind of stuff, and then I go through my top. I think it's my top 10 patterns.
Okay.
And give discounts for those.
Okay.
Just for the people on the
great way to get hooked up.
Yeah, well, that's something I've learned from another coach. And then my last email in that sequence is basically saying, hope you're enjoying being a ReVe. Now you're in my club. I will send you no more than 3 emails a month.
Yeah. Okay.
So I send out my pattern of the month on the 2nd. I send my big newsletter out on the 12th, and occasionally I will send an email out on the 22nd.
Okay. All right. So you are a regular newsletter sender. Like for myself, I'm probably pretty terrible at it. I usually only send things out when I've got like announcements to make, and I need to get better about this because we have the same crochet business coach. So I should be better about this than I am, but
well, I found it good to have like specific dates I had to follow.
Yeah,
it was like I picked them out of the sky, but the 2nd, the 12th, and the 22nd kind of work. Yes. And people know to expect my newsletters or my emails on those days. That's and they know not to expect them other times.
Yeah, because it's way less herky-jerky than I do it. So... All right. So you have actually said ReVers a couple of times. So let's talk about your business name.
Okay.
Tell us how you came up with the name ReVe Design Company.
Okay. So my paternal grandmother was Ruth, and my maternal grandmother was Eve.
Okay.
And they were both massive crafters. I remember when I was possibly only 10. My maternal grandmother at Christmas time gave the eldest daughter in each of the 4 families of grandchildren a hand. I'm not sure whether it was tattered or crocheted, honestly.
Oh, wow.
But, a doily, like I'm trying to find them.
A big one.
Yeah, it's probably 14, 15 inches long, like an oval doily. Yeah. So she gave us each one of those.
Okay.
My other grandmother would make those knitted nations dolls.
Okay.
So she'd find the prettiest dolls she could find in op shops or whatever and dress them in nationality costumes and then sell them.
Oh, neat.
And they were really amazing. And this was her way of kind of supplementing her family's income.
Sure.
And so they both did craft.
Yeah.
All the time I was growing up. And as I said, both of them tried to teach me crochet. So when I moved from creating and selling accessories or whatever,
sure,
as because I still run that. It's called Made for You by Fee.
Okay.
But I decided patterns don't really fit into Made for You by Fee.
Yeah, no. I mean, I made you this idea.
So in at the beginning of 2018, I launched ReVe Design Co. Which was a mashup of their two names. And like I feel like it's a nod to my crafting history. But when I was naming it, and I was running, logo designs through one of the groups that I'm in, one of the ladies from Canada said, "Did you know that spelling means dream in French?" And I went, "No, but I love it."
That's great. And
so my tagline is "Create your dream."
Well, and don't you have a whole line of dream-based patterns?
So, I've done different. When I first launched my website, I did a dreamy crochet patterns type concept. But last week, on the 12th, I launched the Dreamy Tracks set.
Okay.
Which is the button-up set that I showed you before. Now the one on the website, I haven't got these photographed with models yet because I only made these a few weeks ago. The ones in the model photos are a forest green, and they were I think a wool alpaca acrylic blend, and it's a little bit fluffy, but it's still, I mean, the stitch definition doesn't show up quite so well, but it's still beautiful. And I actually designed that set on with yarn support from a local yarn store, LYS, in Sydney, who sent me the wool, asked me to make a set of 3, and then the wool got discontinued.
Oh no!
So
how inconvenient.
So they sent them back to me and said, we can't launch these patterns because we're not going to be selling. Yeah. So it took me over a year to get round to rewriting the patterns in my style and all that kind of stuff, because I've written them in their style.
Oh my gosh.
And as a designer, you will understand that it takes time to kind of go, okay, rewrite that to that, and get photos taken and all of that.
It's a lot of work.
And so it took me a while, and I had to get motivated too, because I had other things on the boil. So it was not like I was ready to do them. So that happened last week.
Sometimes when you have to go back and redo something like that, it takes almost as much energy to get the desire to do it again. You're like, I've already done
this. Which is why I had to make more, because I had to make sure the pattern was right. And because it's like, well, I haven't made this in nearly 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. So yeah, that was fun. So Dreamy Tracks, I named it. It was originally called Let's Make Tracks, and I decided, nah, I'm changing the name.
Well, good for you. It's a whole new pattern then.
That's the designer's prerogative, isn't it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
I said that's the designer's prerogative to change their
Oh,
names.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Okay,
yes,
so do you have any special projects coming up in your business, in your design?
I've been working on a few things. I've been playing with part of this design.
Okay.
The dewdrops side of things, because my mum asked me for. I didn't bring it out. The version of this shawl that was in the magazine last year is in pastel colours. So
okay.
The same dyer who did this yarn, her name is Sally Ridgway, and she's from Tassie.
Okay.
Sorry, Tasmania, for those who aren't from Aussie.
I wouldn't have known.
So Tasmania is the little island down the bottom of Australia.
Yeah.
And Sally, I had been posting on Instagram, and I fell in love with some of her colours. I don't know, 2020, I think it might have been, and ordered some yarn, including these ones for Mother's Day.
Oh,
so
nice.
I got a bag of yarn for Mother's Day.
Oh, that's the best.
This shawl came out of that, and then Homespun Australia decided to start doing a crochet beginners and beyond magazine.
Okay.
And I applied to have, as it turned out, I ended up having 2 designs in issue 3 last June. And one was the trellis mitts, and the other one was this dewdrops and sunbeams shawl.
Okay.
But they had a garden theme as their whole underlying theme. So I talked to Sally, and she hand dyed. Now I've got to remember the names. There was pansy and peony and hydrangea, and I've forgotten the last one, anemone or something like that. So there was a range of 4 different colours that she did for me. And when I showed my mum the original that I'd had in the magazine, she said, I like that colour. Yeah. So, and I want a scarf. So I made her a dewdrops scarf for Mother's Day this year in pansy.
Okay. So is the pansy a pink or a purple color?
It's cream and pink and purple, and it's a speckle yarn.
Okay.
Yeah. Hand dyers.
I know
they're a whole other world.
They are. Well, and I have some friends too, and I love just watching what they come up with because it's incredibly creative. So we talked a little bit about your church group, that you've got a group that you're involved with as far as making things. Do you have any charities or anything like that outside of your business that you're involved in?
Well, apart from the church group, that we actually run a stall on the street when we're running craft. So I actually sell a few things through there, and they keep 20% for the charity that we support, and I actually support the same charity as well. Over the years, our church has had a connection with a community in Kenya.
Okay.
One of the ladies that is a member of our church, she actually went over to Kenya when she was 70. And basically connected with a pastor, and they've built, I don't like to call it an orphanage, but it's a school and a home for children who have nowhere else to go.
Okay.
So that's primary school taken care of. They also support a whole lot of what they call child-led homes.
Okay.
where both parents have died for whatever reason. So the oldest child looks after the rest of the kids,
Oh,
however many
wow.
there are. It's a
Wow.
huge undertaking. So
Yeah.
they support them with food parcels and
Yeah.
education and the whole works. But a big thing for them is that in Kenya, you've got to pay to go to high school, and it's boarding school.
Oh, wow.
So our church, for many, many years, I think it's heading towards 15, 16 years, has
Wow.
been sending money directly to this pastor, and he buys the kids the uniforms, buys the kids their shoes, and sends them off to high school. And there's now kids that we've been supporting for so long that they're now in university.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah. So but all of beyond primary school is boarding school and living
Wow.
away from home and living away from their communities. So it's a huge thing. And our former pastor, he and his wife used to run mission trips over there every year because he's a doctor.
Okay.
So they would use the time that they were there to run medical missions,
Sure.
and he would treat hundreds of people over the course of a week.
Mhm.
And one time they took a nurse, so that I think maybe she went twice. I don't know. But then COVID stopped a lot of things.
We've never gone on the mission field or anything like that, but we've been involved in other mission groups where it's been the doctors that have gone down with, like, a dentist goes and an eye doctor goes and a
Yeah.
physician, and just a group of people that go as a medical group, and they spend 2 or 3 weeks down there. We've been able to sew into stuff like that before as well.
It's good.
I wish that I could do more. I physically can't, but you always feel so limited. Like, if I could just do more.
Yeah. Well, back when they first, a few years after all this started, they started doing loans to ladies who had a reason to need to start a business.
Uh-huh.
And so I decided to start sewing into that. So 10% of my sales goes to, unless it's on the stall, because that's already going to Kenya.
Sure.
That goes to the seed fund that they call it.
Great. That's great.
So Heaven on Earth Women's Seed Fund.
Yeah.
I've got a thing on my, I don't know. I periodically post about it, but then I forget about it.
Yeah.
It's just something I do.
Well, we're getting just about to the end of our time together. I was wondering if you had any advice that you would give to new designers or makers of things that you would recommend focusing on and letting go of as they're starting out.
Oh my goodness. Focus. There's a couple of things you should never do, and that is try and do licensed anything. I remember going through a stage where I was making minion hats. Everyone was making minion hats, and then it became like a big no-no, and I'm like, oh, oops, didn't think of that. And I mean, this was 7-8 years ago. It's not.
Oh yeah, everybody would never do it now. Minion backpacks and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah, a lot of us did, and didn't even think about it. But licensed product is the prerogative of the people who own the license, and you don't step on those toes, particularly if it's Disney, but not even if it's just someone small. You just don't go there. So that's the first thing. Don't do that. And don't waste your time on it, because you're likely to get stopped.
Well, and there's no reason to fight it, because it's just the way that it is.
Yeah. Secondly, tech editors are the best people on earth. Second only to testers.
Yeah.
testers and tech editors are fantastic. They find so many problems in a design.
Yeah.
They fix all those little technical things.
Yeah.
I've got a tech editor in England that I just love. She's been a little bit unwell over the last year, so I've actually had to find someone else, and it's been really, really challenging working with someone different.
It is.
Because
yes, absolutely.
We've had this shorthand for years, and then all of a sudden I'm having to explain things to things.
Like, wait a minute, you don't know me.
Yeah. So tech editors, testers, get yourself a group of people that are willing to pull your pattern apart.
Yeah.
Find every possible error that they possibly can, because if they don't, your customers are going to do it, and customers are not as nice.
Yeah, and read it. Make sure that you're reading it as though you've never read one of my patterns before.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes it's nice to have someone who's done my patterns before, because they know my shortcuts, but I usually like to slot in someone brand new at the same time, because it's useful, because they go, what does this mean? Or how do I find out how to do this? Or what do you mean by this? Or and they ask questions that you don't think of because you've read it so many times. It's like reading your own essays when you're in high school. Yeah,
you just don't correct your own work.
Yeah, it's really hard. So testers, tech editors, work out a style that you like. Have a look at all the patterns that you've got and go, I like this, I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I like this. Put it all together and create your own style of pattern writing. I've been doing pretty much the same thing for the last 5 years. But before that, I had a slightly different style. When I was under Made for You by Fee, I did things a bit different. And then as I started rewriting my patterns under my new business name, I changed the style, and I like it much better, and it's cleaner and much easier to read.
Well, as you go along, you definitely develop the style that works the best for you, as well as is easily readable for your customers.
Yeah, and in progress photos are very, very useful, because sometimes you're trying to explain something, and if you've got a photo, it helps so much to eliminate the questions. And as designers, we're all about removing the questions.
Yes, and definitely creating the answers before the question even arises, because you're upping your level of service, because we're here to serve our customers, and we want to put out the very best patterns that we can.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm completely in agreement with that.
And I mean, everybody kind of eventually gets their own style. Like, so many people are worried about stepping on someone else's toes, but there's so many hats, but no one's ever designed a hat exactly the same as I would design it, because I have my own style. And sometimes I go bottom up, and other times I come crown down, and some people like going round.
And that's the beauty, though, of becoming a designer and that was actually something I wanted to talk with you about, is the community over competition that Pam really espouses. And I think it's really being embraced by the overall fiber arts community. It's become less competitive, and we're more about helping each other get ahead, promoting each other, as opposed to, well, you're a designer and I'm a designer and I can't share your stuff, but you don't make the same thing that I make, but because you're a designer, I can't share you. That's how it used to be. But now it's like, no, my gosh, even if you and I both make a shawl, we're not making the same shawl.
No.
and, offering that, to everyone, I believe that it makes everybody better.
Totally. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I mean, and expanding people's knowledge of different designers also expands our customers' crochet skills.
Absolutely.
Because everyone uses different tricks or different stitch combinations, and it's like, oh, I like that, and I like that, and I like that. I did the Ravelry gift along a number of times, and I actually did an opado. I think twice, because I went and bought patterns from other designers that had stitch patterns or techniques that I'd never heard of or never done before.
Yeah.
So I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And I specifically went and bought patterns for those reasons.
I do that all the time. I go and buy other people's patterns all the time. It's not just about supporting necessarily monetarily somebody else, which, yes, that's what I want to do as well. But also just because I like making other people's stuff. A, because I don't have to do it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to create it. I can just read somebody else's pattern and do it. And B, because I do pick up stuff. I pick up different techniques and all of that stuff as I'm making somebody else's work.
Yeah, exactly. Or you might go, I don't really like the way they wrote that. I would probably do it this way, and it makes you better.
Yeah,
which is
I absolutely agree.
The whole point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Alrighty, well, we're just about done here. Are there any parting words that you would like to leave with the viewers today concerning ReVe Design Company?
I haven't set this up yet, so I'll go and do it in a minute.
Okay.
But I'd like to give everybody let me see, 25% discount on any pattern for the next 2 days on my website.
Okay, so just so everybody's aware that if you're watching this, it is the 23rd in Australia. It is the 22nd in the United States.
I'll make it to the end of the month. End of the month.
End of the month. Okay, so till the end of May, you can get 25% off. And where do they need to find is it just it doesn't matter? They can just go to your website and do it?
They can go to my website, which is revedesignco.com, or I'll do it on Ravelry as well, because that's easy, which is also ReVe Design Code on Ravelry, and I'll do the code as busy.
Okay, BIZZY?
Correct.
Okay, so just so anybody can later on, it is only until May 30th, 2023. So this is going to be an evergreen video, but that 25% off is not an evergreen discount. So make sure that you hit it up before. And
if you happen to be a VIP, you can stack it.
Say that again.
If you happen to be a VIP already, you can stack your 20% coupon with your 25% stack.
Here you go. You're almost getting stuff for free at that point.
It works out, I think, not 40. It's around 40% when you do it that way. Yeah.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead, and I'm going to say good. If you just could stay online, I'm going to say bye to everybody else, and then I'll come back so we can say a proper goodbye.
No problems, but it's not set up yet.
Yes, all of her information is going to be in the description box below after the video,
along with the discount.
Yes, so we'll add all of that information in. So give me an hour. Okay. But go ahead and say goodbye to everybody, Fiona.
Bye. Thank you for watching.
Absolutely, and stick around. We'll say goodbye proper. Thank you, everybody, for watching the Buzz with Busy Crochet today. I hope that you enjoyed the chat with Fiona. I know that I have. I've learned so much, and I just absolutely dig listening to other people's accents. It's so much fun. But go ahead and hang around, and watch for all of her description information in the box below, because she is going to be offering that discount for just a few days here this month. So make sure that you connect with her. And I am going to say goodbye. You guys have a great rest of your day.